Official score from the Camden Courier-Post, and we're just about to get underway. Kevin Gross on the mound. He's a fellow that was suspended for 10 days for being caught with sandpaper sewn to his glove or placed on his glove. Had to sit out 10 days of the season, and he'll be working to Lenny Dykstra.
How about that chant, "Let's go Mets," so loud here in Philadelphia?
Well, a good crowd here, considering the fact that the Phillies have nothing at stake and the Mets have everything at stake, and a lot of Mets rooters down here from the New York area, or even this area, as a matter of fact.
You know, in this week's edition of the Pennant Chase, they had flashbacks to certain statements out of spring training. Of course, the Pirates didn't like the Mets, and the Phillies really didn't like the Mets, and their biggest the man who was the most vocal was their third baseman, Mike Schmidt. So they don't want the Mets to win any of these 3 ball games.
And now the first pitch of the game to Lenny Dykstra, fastball for ball 1. Dykstra hitting .286. He has 10 home runs, a career high. He has driven in 43, and Lenny has been a hot batter in his last 16 games. He's batting .350 with 17 runs scored, 11 runs batted in. And in his last 8 games, he's had 8 2-base hits. And he fouls off a fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, I mentioned a few moments ago, Kevin Gross has been very successful against the Mets throughout his career.
This year he has had some difficulties. Won 1 and lost 3 against the Mets. Dykstra batting .375 against the Phillies this year with 9 hits and 24 at bats, no runs batted in. And the fastball is swung on and missed.
How about that? Lenny Dykstra swinging at that fastball, then walking to the third base side of home plate. Usually you walk the other way if you're left-handed.
His momentum took him over there.
Good fastball right there.
Perfect location on that outside corner down around the knees. 1-2 the count to Lenny Dykstra as we get underway here at the Vet. Beautiful evening for baseball.
Lenny's been having a lot of trouble with that pitch outside, that fastball low and away.
And this ball lined to center field for a base hit. So Dykstra starts it off with a single.
Well, we'll see if Davey Johnson is very aggressive with Lenny on first base. Here's that swing. Hits that high fastball. Pretty good pitch to hit, and Lenny's slapping the ball into center field. That's what Davey Johnson wants him to do. Davey becomes disenchanted with Lenny Dykstra for one reason: he hits too many fly balls. He doesn't want him hitting fly balls, wants him to hit the ball on the ground.
And here's a man who's hit the ball well coming up, Tim Teufel. Teufel with a season's average of .313. He has 13 home runs, 57 runs batted in. Brings a 4-game hitting streak into this game, 8 for 16 over the 4 games, .500. In his last 10 games, he's had 3 home runs and 10 runs batted in. He's had trouble with the Phillies. He's had only 3 hits and 25 at bats against Philadelphia this year, 120 batting average. Teufel playing against left-hand pitching and right-hand pitching. Wally Backman not available for use. He has a sprained wrist. So Teufel hitting well against right-hand pitching since taking over on a daily basis. Dykstra a threat to steal. A runner at first. Good sized lead. He is running, and the pitch is grounded out to third. No play at second. Schmidt has it, throws over to first, and on the hit and run play, the Mets get a runner in scoring position, and that would have been a double play if it had not been for the hit and run.
Well, that's how they've been utilizing Lenny Dykstra when they're successful, putting him in motion, and here he gets a good jump off of first base. And Tim Teufel hit the ball hard on the ground and right to Mike Schmidt. Easy play for Schmitty. 1 down.
So Dykstra at second with Keith Hernandez coming up. Keith hitting .294 for the year with 17 home runs, a career high. 88 runs batted in. Keith hitting just .227 against the Phillies this year with 2 home runs, 4 runs batted in. Keith in his last 23 games with 4 home runs and 22 runs batted in. Mets have set club records for runs scored. They have 799. They have set a club record for 2 base hits, 276. And that pitch is a ball. Also a club record for extra base hits, 497. A club record for total bases, 2,366. They have set a club record for runs batted in a single season, 748. And they need 3 hits to break the record, club record for hits in the season, 1,462. The offense has been there. And that pitch is strike. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And the major reason a lot of people picked the Mets to win it was because of their pitching. Of course,
pitching has not been there.
Of course, a lot of them have been literally not there.
Every one of their starting pitchers has been down on the DL at one time or another. Pitchers that they figured so strongly for this year, with the exception of Jesse Orosco, who has not been injured. And this ball hit hard to right, but right at Wilson. He makes the play. Dykstra tags up, crosses over to third, and slides in safely. Wilson leads the National League in assists as an outfielder with 18.
Ball took off. It looked like Glenn Wilson might have misjudged the velocity of that ball, but he got up and he was able to glove it. And Lenny Dykstra going to third. Now he's off balance, really catching his ball. He has to set himself, and Lenny Dykstra, great speed, but Lenny had an unorthodox slide going into third base. Almost killed himself.
That's his normal slide. He almost kills himself every time he hits that bag. Or any bag, as a matter of fact. Now the batter would be Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry hitting .287. Career high 38 home runs. A career high 102 RBIs. A career high 105 runs scored. And he takes a fastball for ball 1.
Well, they got McReynolds so Strawberry would get better pitches. Looks like it's paid off. And McReynolds has been delivering.
Mets lead the National League in batting average at .270. And this ball hit hard, but it's foul. Ball hit by Bill Robinson, coaching here in his hometown, Philadelphia. Strawberry with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Darryl hitting .320 this year against the Philadelphia Phillies with 6 home runs, 19 runs batted in. In his last 22 games, he's hit .356, but 20 runs scored, 7 home runs, 25 runs batted in. He has been carrying the Mets, having an MVP type year. And that pitch a ball, so they count 2 balls, 1 strike. In the month of September, Darryl has hit .340 with 7 home runs, 26 runs batted in. He's had 11 stolen bases. Kevin Gross back to Strawberry, and the curveball hit high in the air to center field. Just got under it. Over there is Von Hayes, and he makes the catch, and that retires the side. So the Mets leave 1 at third on a base hit. And the score at the end of 1/2 inning, the Mets nothing, the Phillies coming up. Strawberry, and the catcher is Carter. Juan Samuel to lead it off for the Philadelphia Phillies, hitting .273 with 28 home runs, 98 runs batted in. He has 35 stolen bases, and Samuel having a great year. He is the MVP on the Philadelphia Phillies, and the first pitch, ball 1. Samuel hitting .273 against the Mets with 15 hits, 1 of them a home run. And the pitch is a fastball swung on and missed. Candelaria with a lifetime record of 150 wins, 95 losses. He's lifetime 12-8 against the Philadelphia Phillies, pitching against them for the first time since returning to the National League from the American. And a line drive, base hit, could be extra bases. McReynolds over. And he gets to it, but he hasn't got time to turn and throw to pick up Samuel, and the leadoff double by Juan Samuel.
Well, here it is. Juan Samuel's 35th double of the season. He hits a rope in the left center field. Good fastball hitter. He gets that good fastball and smokes it. McReynolds going a long way to cut that ball off, but as Ralph mentioned, unable to get the ball in time to stop Samuel.
Candelaria now has faced 3 leadoff batters. He's given up a home run, a double, and a double in his 3 game starts. So he's having trouble getting that first batter out as he pitches to Von Hayes. Von Hayes in the bunting position, taking for ball 1. Von Hayes hitting .281 for the year with 21 home runs, 82 runs batted in. Has that unusual widespread stance, and he takes that pitch just outside 2-0. Von Hayes against the Mets this year with only 9 hits and 52 at bats. One of those hits a home run, hitting .173. On deck batter Mike Schmidt. And this ball hit hard down the right field line, but it's curving foul.
Wow.
So 2 bullets hit off of John Candelaria.
Usually left-handers aren't able to hang in there like Von Hayes. It was a foul ball, but that'll wake you up if you're Davey Johnson or Mel Stottlemyre.
John Candelaria working for the Mets. And the curveball, a broken bat pop-up into shallow left field. McReynolds right there, and he puts it away.
You ever think a manager becomes concerned when a hitter hits a hard foul ball?
I think so.
Sure.
Gets their attention.
Especially a left-hander hitting against John Candelaria, because when he drops down, he's got to intimidate those left-handers.
Earlier this year, Candy Maldonado hit a hard line drive foul, and they examined his bat.
That'll do it.
Now the batter is Mike Schmidt. Mike hitting .296 this year with 34 home runs, 109 RBIs. Another outstanding season for Mike Schmidt, a certain Hall of Fame player. And he takes inside for ball 1.
In a game this big, do you pitch around him in a situation like this in the first inning? He's got Lance Parrish batting next with 66 RBIs and 17 home runs.
Well, you got to pitch him tough all the time. I don't know if he'd pitch around him, but Schmidt has hit only .232 against the Mets this year with 13 hits, 2 of them home runs, 7 RBIs. He's tough in the clutch situation. There's a drive to left. McReynolds is over there, and he makes the catch. So now a bullet to left caught by McReynolds, and Candelaria has been hit hard here as he starts this ball game.
Well, Mike Schmidt can turn anybody's fastball. Here he hits a bullet. Lucky for the Mets that Schmidt did not get the ball way up in the air. That ball would have been out of here. He hit that ball right on the nose.
2 men away, and that'll bring up Lance Parrish. Parrish hitting .244, 17 home runs, 66 runs batted in. After a horrible start, he's really come back to get some numbers that are respectable. And the first pitch is strike call. Parrish hitting .229 against the Mets with 11 hits, but 3 of them have been home runs. Coming to the Philadelphia Phillies from the Detroit Tigers as a free agent. Pitch back, a breaking ball, and it's too low, and the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Mets had a runner in scoring position in the first inning. Their half of the first. Got Lenny Dykstra to third. Hernandez hit a line drive that was hit as hard as Mike Schmidt's, or almost as hard. There's a strike call, 1-2. Candelaria starting to vary his speeds now, taking something off his breaking ball. His fastball and curve are pretty much the same speed. Of course, he's been a very successful pitcher. 150 wins, 95 losses in his major league career. And that pitch just missing outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Candelaria has always had outstanding control. Two balls, 2 strikes. And it's topped right back to Candelaria. He takes it over to first base, and that'll retire the side. So both clubs threatened in the first. Neither score. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left at second for the Phillies, and the score at the end of 1, the Mets nothing, the Philadelphia Phillies nothing. The 1987 NLCS series to be played at Shea Stadium. There's ball 1 as you look at McReynolds take 1. McReynolds batting .279 with 29 home runs, 92 runs batted in. Kevin Gross on the mound tries the curve and misses. 2 balls, no strikes. Games that will be played at Shea Stadium, and tickets available for that championship series. First game Tuesday, October 6th at 8:30, and the fastball a strike. Second game will be Wednesday, October 7th. That will be an afternoon game starting at 3:07. And then the 6th and 7th games, Tuesday, October 13th, a night game at 8:25, and Wednesday, October 14th, game number 7 if it's played, and that'll be a night game at 8:25. And the changeup, and the count, 3 balls and 1 strike. The tickets will be made available exclusively by Teletron, the Teletron telephone ordering service, on Wednesday, September 30th, starting at 6 p.m. And that ball hit foul, so it goes to 3-2 in one of the 4 scheduled games. Tickets are priced at $20. We give you the ticket number, phone numbers to call. There's a drive and over the head of the shortstop Aguayo in the alley. McReynolds trying for 2. The throw by Vaughn Hayes, not in time, and Vaughn Hayes had cut it off, but not in time, and McReynolds gets a double.
Thought Aguayo had a shot at catching this ball. Good pitch from Gross, and McReynolds going in hitting a bullet just over the glove of Luis Aguayo. And Vaughn Hayes getting the ball in a hurry, but McReynolds with that good speed getting into second base way ahead of the throw.
So that brings up Gary Carter. Carter hitting .236 for the year with 19 home runs, 81 runs batted in. He's hitting .278 against Philadelphia Philly pitching. And he hits a fastball back foul. Teletron will be required to pick up their tickets at Shea Stadium on Friday, October 2nd or Saturday, October 3rd between the hours of 10 and 6. There's a line drive down the line. It is called a foul ball. Out there right now, Sammy Palazzo, and he is saying something to third base umpire Terry Tata. That ball a shot and called foul by Terry Tata.
And Terry Tata was right down there. He had a great view of the ball. And it is a, wow, that's too close to call.
They call it a game of inches, and that was a fraction of an inch.
It might, you think it was a foul?
Boy, it was awfully close. Might have caught part of that line.
Look at this. Wow. I don't know if that's foul. It's like a tennis match right here.
McEnroe would go crazy on that one. Now the pitch to Gary Carter. The count stands at strike 2. Gross takes too much time, and Carter asks for time. Runner at second, no score, no one out, top of the second. Two-strike pitch, and it's bounced out to the second base side. That moves McReynolds over to third on the out. And the Mets now have a runner at third with 1 out, and Heim 1-4-681-0365. New Jersey 201-480-4200. And other areas 800-922-2030. That is toll free. Howard Johnson, the batter. Johnson hitting .269, 36 home runs, 97 runs batted in. And the first pitch, ball 1. And don't forget that Teletron telephone ordering service will be started on Wednesday, September 30th at 6 p.m. So that's when your calls can start going in. 4 tickets, limited 4 tickets to a person per game. And a drive down the left field line. It'll be extra bases. Over there to cut it off, Chris James. Johnson goes in, standing up with a double, and the Mets score as McReynolds, who had doubled, comes in from second, and the Mets lead it by a score of 1-0.
Well, the Mets are matching the Phillies line drive for line drive. That was a pretty good pitch right there. Ball trailing away, almost off the plate. Howard Johnson slapping a ball in the left field with authority, and he cruises into second base with a double and an RBI, the first run of the ball game.
Johnson's 98th run batted in. That is his 20th double of the year, and it brings up Rafael Santana. And the fastball inside for ball 1. Santana hitting .263 with 6 home runs, 44 runs batted in. Santana with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs against the Phillies this year. And the curveball for ball 2.
Saw Bobby Sykes in the dugout. Bobby Sykes, the assistant trainer to Steve Garland. He was wiping off the bat with a I believe it was ammonia. He's wiping off the pine tar. Players like it on the bat, but they don't like it caked on the bat.
And the curveball again. This one a strike. 2 balls, 1 strike.
It's amazing. Trainers do everything. They take care of the players and they take care of the equipment. They have to be able to, well, in the minor leagues, they were the guys that would take the gloves that were, the webbings that were ripped, and they would fix them up. It's a tough job.
Also in the minor leagues, they're usually the bus driver.
That's right. Traveling secretary.
2 balls, 1 strike. Johnson draws some attention at second. Mets leading 1-0 as they have picked up a run here in the second with 1 man out. Fastball grounded out toward the shortstop, cut off by Mike Schmidt. The throw to first base in time for the out as Johnson holds at second.
Looks good.
Base. He was not that good at first base, and he's a great third baseman. And Shue wasn't that good at third baseman. And John Candelaria.
Left-handers who batted right-handed. Here's one, John Candelaria.
Mark Carrion on the Mets, also one. Cleon Jones, the best the Mets ever had.
The best at doing it was Hal Chase. Hal Chase is the only man who threw left-handed, batted right-handed, who won a batting crown. You say he was kind of a interesting character also.
Candelaria swings and fouls it off again. See quite a few pitchers that do that. And another foul ball, so can't. And that pitch way outside, a good play on it by Parrish. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Hey, this guy has to be a good athlete to be all city in New York in basketball in high school.
Didn't play baseball his last 2 years in high school as his team did not have a baseball team. This ball chopped out to the second base side. Samuel is there, and he makes the play. But the Mets get 1 run in the inning on 2 hits, both double. 262 for the year, 14 home runs, 59 runs batted in. He's hit the Mets well, and the first pitch grounded out to Johnson at third. So 1 pitch and 1 away as Wilson came to the plate, hitting .354 against the Mets with 3. And the breaking ball, a called strike. One strike the count to Chris James. And the fastball for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. James has a 5-game hitting streak, batting .471 over the 5 games. And the breaking ball for ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike. Dwight Gooden scheduled to pitch in this series.
Took a hammering Saturday. He's scheduled to pitch Wednesday night for the Mets here in Philadelphia.
Go against Shane Raleigh. Gooden with a record of 15-7. And the fastball fouled back, 2-2. Tomorrow night it'll be David Cohn against Don Carmen.
Well, this thing now that has been brought to light, so to speak, as you look at members of our Navy, this situation with Dwight Gooden and his daytime problems.
If he does pitch at the end of the season, it will be a day game on Sunday. Ground ball hit out to the shortstop side. Good play by Santana, but he can't get it there in time as James gets down that line in a hurry. Infield base hit.
Well, speed must run in his family. His brother, a fine football player with the Boston Patriots. And here Santana making a nice stop of that ball. He was shading him to pull and made the throw, but James.
That brings up Rick Shue. First pitch, a fastball, strike 1. Shue hitting .237, 7 home runs, 23 runs batted in. He's 2 for 17 against the Mets this year, batting .118. And that pitch, a ball, a breaking ball, 1 ball, 1 strike. Mets leading 1-0. 1 man out, bottom half of the second. And that fastball grounded foul, 1-2. Cardinals and San Francisco has clinched a tie. Minnesota has clinched a tie. And a breaking ball. 2-2 the count. Toronto leading Detroit by 2.5 games. Their magic number is 5 over the Tigers. And time is called and a balk call. Balk call called by Harry Wendelstedt, and this crew has called twice as many balks as any crew in the National League. Wendelstedt indicating that Candelaria moved his shoulders twice.
Well, let's take a look. Yeah, he did.
Well, his head turned and it did pull his shoulders.
Yes, it did. Those seem to be attached occasionally, don't they?
They do go together, and it's a balk call and Candelaria's first balk. He puts the runner in scoring position. Wendelstedt runs an umpire school. He must be in charge of balks.
A lot of the umpires in professional baseball go through that school.
And the fastball is right in there. Called strike, and Candelaria gets his first strikeout. Aguayo hitting .207 with 11 home runs, 20 runs batted in. Mets leading 1-0. The Phillies with a runner at second, 2 out. And a curveball. Fouls. They've called more balks than any crew in the National League. And the balk calls this year are about double what they've been in the past.
Maybe every time Harry gets in a new crew, those guys are trying out for teachers' positions during the off season at his school. So they have to show the boss what they know.
Kevin Gross has had 7 balks, and he's the pitcher. There's a drive to center. Dykstra going back. Can he get it? He can. He misjudged it, but then caught up with his error and makes the play. He singled to center field, got to third, but did not score. Mets getting the run in the second on a double by McReynolds, and with 1 out, Howard Johnson coming up with a base hit to left field. It was a 2-base hit, and the Mets lead 1-0. On the mound, Kevin Gross. And the first pitch, a fastball for ball 1. Gross with a lifetime record of 48-50, working to Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra has had 10 hits now against the Phillies and 25 at bats. Again, the fastball, 2 balls, no strikes. Gross with an earned run average this year against the Mets of 8.02 with a record of 1-3. So the Mets have handled him so far fairly well. Working very slowly here tonight. Gets a strike with a fastball, 2 balls, 1 strike. Gross's lifetime record against the Mets, 8 wins and 6 losses. Last year he was 12-12. This year he is 9-14. Back with a fastball. That one a shade outside, and the count 3-1. Tim Tuffle, the on-deck batter. The Mets have a record of 40 and make that 55-28, where they have scored the first run in the game. 55 wins, 28 losses. And a strike call. Dykstra thought it was ball 4.
And that fastball tailing away.
Boy,
like it was off the plate.
It really was.
Harry Wendelstedt with that big strike zone.
Dykstra being played straight away. And he lines a base hit to left field. Dykstra has been hot. The ball takes a bad hop.
Can you believe that?
But it is handled by James in left, and Dykstra leads off the third with a single.
First off, here's another ball. Gross throwing the ball way off the plate, and Dykstra hitting a ball. It's a crease out there. How many times do you see a bad hop on the artificial surface in the outfield?
Score. And Dykstra almost picked off at first. Made a move towards second, but got back.
Real close at first base. And Lenny wrong-footed. You have to be very, very agile to be on the wrong foot and get back to first base. And Gross with a good, fast move to first.
Again, he goes over to first.
Looks like they might have taken that sign off.
Now remember now, Gross has 7 balks for the year, and we got a crew here that calls a lot of balks.
And he really does spin to first base, which is a balk.
Quick pitch right there. That should have been a balk. Throw down to second base, not handled by Sam Well. And there's one time where he should have called a balk as they quick pitched. He never did stop.
Oh, here it is. He goes to the set position and goes home. You don't think he stopped for that second?
Not at all.
And the ball hits Dykstra before it hits Sam Wells' glove. I'd like to see that from the pitcher again to see if he does stop at all. Okay, here's normal speed now.
You didn't
Yeah,
think he
that's
stopped?
right.
Didn't stop
That
at all.
slow motion he stopped, but on normal speed he did not stop.
So a runner at second on the stolen base for Dykstra, and Tuffle hits it hard but foul. Almost gets third base coach Sammy Palazza. Dykstra with 26 stolen bases in 33 attempts. Sammy almost decapitated out there. That's the thing about a balk call. It's just in the eyes of the beholder.
That's right.
I mean, it's not defined.
I'm really surprised because when Bill Webb gave it to us normal speed, it really looked like Gross did not stop. Sammy Palazzo now talking to Tim Tuffle. His job, of course, in.
Tuffle brought a 4-game hitting streak into this game, hitting .500 over the 4 games. And he's going at the bunt. And he misses it. Strike call. 1-2.
Okay, we're going to take a look at normal speed now. Gross going to the set position. Let's see if he quick pitched. Yeah, he quick pitched.
Got to come to a full stop down at the belt or wherever you do make your stop. Sometimes they make it at the letters.
Well, they say you should be able to count to 1,001.
And Tuffle goes after a bad pitch and is struck out.
Well, Tuffle tried to bunt him over and then chased the bad ball off the plate. He's not happy, throwing the helmet, throwing the bat. Probably upset that he got that bunt.
I'm amazed if it was a bunt order.
It had to be because Sam Palazzo came down the line and talked to Tuffle. He verbalized the sign rather than giving the sign the usual way. So obviously they wanted to get the runner over, but the way Tuffle's been hitting with runners in scoring position, I'm surprised.
I have never seen Davy Johnson bunt a man to third base in that situation this early in the ball game.
Yeah, Davy is the type of guy. He's from the Earl Weaver School of Managing. Forget the bunt.
Now Keith Hernandez a batter. Keith lined out to right his first time up, hit it as hard as he could, but right at Wilson. And the curveball, a strike call. Big strike zone.
Now, Tim Tuffle.
When you go down those tunnels, there's
some violence.
Could be tough in there.
That's right.
Could be a water cooler or two. Or
that's why what John McEnroe does, that's no big deal. You get in one of those runways after somebody strikes out.
You didn't like my comparison, huh?
I think McEnroe is exciting for tennis. He makes people watch it.
And again, Keith takes the breaking ball. This time it is a ball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
But you've seen, Ralph, guys go into the clubhouse and into the runway and do things that would shock you.
Just knock all the lights out down the runway.
What? Breaking water coolers, water shooting out in the field.
Mets fans trying to get something going here. The Mets leading 1-0. A runner at second, 1 man out. And the off-speed pitch, and Keith out in front of it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. So the count 1-2 to Keith Hernandez. Hit off the end of the bat down to Mike Schmidt. He waits for it, makes a good play, underhands to first and picks up the out. That was not an easy play. Dykstra holds at second.
All one motion
on that throw. Very unusual type throw. And the Mets have Darryl Strawberry coming up. Darryl hitting .287, 38 home runs, 102 RBIs. Flied out to center field his first time up. Gets a slow curveball, and that's called a ball. Gross throwing a lot of lollipop type curveballs. Schmidt at third base. He is a hard-nosed player. One of the great ones. And again, the off-speed pitch, and this is ball 2.
You haven't had that many guys from Philadelphia to get into the Hall of Fame. Chuck Klein, he's in the Hall of Fame. Robin Roberts. Mike Schmidt will go in a hurry.
You'll have to wait 5 years, which is the normal waiting period. And a foul ball, so the count 2-1. The reason why you have to wait.
Mentioned Chuck Klein in the Hall of Fame. How about Wade Boggs with 5th year in a row, 200 hits or more?
Charlie Gehringer did that. There are a couple others,
Chuck
not many.
Klein and Al Simmons is the guy who used to step in a bucket, right?
Yeah, but he was a great right-handed hitter.
But they would tell him, I bet today, don't be doing that.
Used a 42-inch bat. And there's a ball, so they count 3-1. But 42. And ball 4. They're not taking any chances with Strawberry, who has been extremely hot in September. They'll take on Kevin McReynolds, who's dropped down in weight, going from 34 to 33 ounces. That usually happens to a batter when he gets into September and he plays every day, and that pitch is strike call.
I read where Ted Williams used to drop down an ounce on his bat and also choke up.
I'd vary between 42 ounces and 37, and usually in the month of September. Maybe more so in August when it's really hot. This kind of weather is great.
That's a heavy bat. Did they throw curveballs when you played?
Some of them did. There's another strike call. It's strike 2.
That is really a heavy bat. It's too heavy.
Well, the old-time players used heavier bats than they do now. They were looking for the big swing. That pitch in the dirt blocked by Parrish. Dykstra holds at second. A fellow named Ryan used the bottle bat. But that was for singles. And McReynolds is struck out. So the Mets threaten but do not score. They leave 2 after a leadoff 30th at 6 p.m. Now the leadoff batter for the Phillies, Kevin Gross, and he takes and Candelaria back and missing. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's ground ball out to third. Great play by Howard Johnson. He takes a base hit away.
What you say, this game was a matter of inches?
Ooh.
Howard Johnson just getting the glove. Well, that's a good rip by Gross. He looks like a good hitter. And a fine play by Howard Johnson. Of course, he has that real good throwing arm.
And the fastball fouled away. It's 28 home runs, 98 runs batted in. This one hit out toward Tuffle, back a second. Good positioning, and the throw to first in time for the out.
You mentioned those 15.
Plays no runs on 2, and a good curveball, strike 1. That time he made Von Hayes buckle. Von Hayes hitting .306 on the road, but only .256 at home. And that pitch is strike 2. He is the first Philadelphia Philly left-hand batter to have over 100 walks since Richie Ashburn back in 1955.
What a difference in size.
Richie, of course, a great center fielder, and certainly should have a lot of consideration for the Hall of Fame. Wild swing and a miss. Carter will complete the strikeout with a throw to Hernandez, and the Phillies go in order for the first time. The score at the end of 3 as Tim McCarver joins Fran Healy. It's the Mets 1 and the Philadelphia Phillies nothing.
He's a good-looking devil, too.
I'll tell you one thing. You can tell he's left-handed all the way, too. That's
I can't believe he's walking around on a ledge.
He's been on a ledge before.
Well, Gary Carter, the batter, 0-1 on the Met catcher.
He is something, I'll tell you.
In a pennant chase this week, they have him walking around in a dugout dancing with three nuns. It's one of the funniest scenes I've witnessed. He's a character, the Philly fanatic. 0-2 on Gary Carter.
David Raymond, his father, the coach at the University of Delaware, Tubby Raymond,
Gary Maddox.
Came to the Phillies in 1975 for Willie Montañez. I'll tell you the connection in that deal.
You weren't involved in that again, were you?
Well, it's strange, yeah. From an ancillary standpoint, I was involved in a lot of trades, but Willie Montañez was the player to be named later when Curt Flood didn't go along with the trade in 1969. Actually, the player was to be Cardinal announcer Mike Shannon. Mike came down with nephritis, and Willie Montañez was the player, and he played with the Phillies. And then he went to San Francisco in 1975, and Gary came over, and Gary and I were teammates for 5 years.
You won a few Gold Gloves here in Philadelphia. 9,
I believe.
2-2 on Gary Carter. There's a ground ball. Aguayo to first, 1 down.
I went for the head fake. Check it out.
He is great.
He hit Bob Murphy with WFAN. There's Robert to the right. David Raymond, the Philly fanatic. Oh, he is a funny man.
And Howard Johnson, the batter, takes a strike. You saw that Prism sign right below us. That's our sister station here in Philadelphia. Carries a lot of the Philly games. Chris Wheeler doing the play-by-play for Prism. And Howard Johnson takes inside. 1-1.
Getting back to that out that Carter made, he pushed McReynolds, as you see the square around, and Hojo takes it inside. He pushed McReynolds to third with that out, something Gary hasn't done a lot this year. And from a mental standpoint, managers are reluctant to walk a guy with second base open.
And Howard Johnson pops the ball up. Aguayo underneath it and makes the catch, 2 down.
In other words, if you have a runner at third.
Now in the batter, Rafael Santana. Santana, his first time up, grounded out to Mike Schmidt, and he fouls the ball out of play. Nice crowd on hand. Most of the people, I'm sure, New York Met fans. Let's go Mets. A big chant here early in the game, and it sounded like everybody in the ballpark was chanting, let's go Mets. And the 0-1 pitch to Santana. There's a strike. We're in the top of the 4th inning. Outside.
Detroit,
all 1-run game. Santana swings at a bad ball. Strike 3. So that does it for the Mets here in the top of the 4th. 3 up, 3 down at the end of 3.5. Schmidt leads it off for the Phillies here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 1-0 New York on top of Philadelphia. And Schmidt takes a strike. By the way, the playoff note that Ralph read before, keep in mind playoff tickets are only available through Teletron. So everybody talking playoffs. A big week for the Mets, the Expos, and the Cardinals. Schmidt hits a drive in the right center field, and Dykstra in pursuit. Outstanding play, Lenny Dykstra.
Really was a good play. And Lenny may have hurt himself, a play made easier on natural surface. But the reason this is such a difficult play, when a guy like Schmidt hits a ball into the hole in right center, when Dykstra catches the ball's actually still moving away from him. It's slicing into right center. Lenny has to play Schmidt to pull, and he may have hurt himself then.
Never see him get hurt.
Well, that's because he's young and strong and hard, and he's been doing it for 2 years. You wonder how long his body's going to hold up.
He didn't get hurt on that collision with Mookie Wilson early in the year.
Either one of them.
I know it. Both of them were back out there the next day.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Well, Lance Parrish, the batter, 1-0 on the big Philly catch. 1 man down here in the bottom of the 4th. Parrish bounced back to Candelaria his first time up, and they get the shift on for Parrish. Breaking ball inside. 2-0. Tim Tupple on the left side of second base. There it is. And Keith Hernandez playing second base and first base. Just like when you were a kid growing up, didn't have enough guys for a pickup game.
Yeah.
There's a shot. He got it through the hole. How about that? 3 guys on the left side of the infield, and he gets it through the hole. Glenn Wilson hits a high fly ball right field. Here comes Darryl Strawberry, and he makes the catch. 2 down.
That's that Bermuda Triangle out there. A couple of players this year have never returned from that right center, left center. Boy, the Mets have had problems all season long in those areas. Home runs now or something like that.
Hammering the ball.
Unbelievable. All-star catcher.
And the batter now, Chris James, who had an infield hit his first time up. Talking about having a bad team on paper, what about the Montreal Expos coming into this season? I think we can forget the on-paper baseball teams after this year.
Well, of course, they signed Raines a little later on, and they got production out of Pascal Perez and Dennis Martinez.
Right.
I mean, the Expos are 18-3 in games which Martinez has started, and I think he's starting one of those games against the Cardinals tomorrow night.
Now, how about they got Raines back, but they lost not only Andre Dawson, but Jeff Reardon.
Man, that's amazing. Buck Rogers has done a terrific job with that club.
He should be manager of the century. Fouled out of play. 1-2. 2 men down here in the bottom of the 4th inning. The Mets and the Phillies. You're watching all the action on SportsChannel.
November. Don't give up this last week. It's been too far. No, there's no emotional drain. I don't buy that. And the same, you know, I'm kidding, obviously, but the same goes for players. You reach back, you don't know, you're dog tired, and you don't know where you get your energy, but you do. You find it somewhere.
I think the fans might be emotionally drained more than the team. The way they hang on every game the Mets play. 2-2 pitch to James outside, 3-2. Once again, keep in mind the playoff tickets will only be available through Teletron. There's Rick Shue, the Philly first baseman. Another foul ball out of play. So the fouls another ball out of play. Only 300 has a shot at that. He has 197. He's had quite a year. 3-2 pitch down low, ball 4. So Rick James going down to first. I should say Chris James going down to first base. Oh, what a play by the basketball player.
Candy.
Piece of candy.
Piece of candy.
So John Candelaria, an outstanding reaction to a line drive with an RBI on the other end. And that'll do it for the Phils. They strand 2. They fail to score. After 4, it's Mets 1.
Tell you, got to have quick hands to be a major league ball player. Watch Kevin McReynolds filching the pocket of one Bob Sykes. I guess Kevin preparing for Times Square on New Year's Eve.
I think the quickest hands in sports are on Times Square New Year's Eve.
Got that right. A lot of guys have been signed from Times Square, matter of fact.
Score that one 6-3, 1 down. Talk about scouts. This place is jammed with scouts tonight. All of them sitting behind home plate. I think they exchanged notes.
No copying. There's Mickey Vernon right there.
Stay awake, Mick.
Mickey yawning right there. Mick, a Philadelphia native. What a player he was.
A lot of people feel that guy should be in a Hall of Fame. Mickey
and I'm
Vernon.
one of them.
Well, 1 man out, and the batter now, Lenny Dykstra. Of course, Mickey Vernon listening to the ball game.
There's Mick. Listening to Harry Callis and Richie Ashburn.
Great hitter with the Washington Senators and the Boston Red Sox. And
not Richie Ashburn.
No. Richie was at the Phillies. Oh, you mean not listening to Richie? Richie's very quiet over there.
Even though there are only 2 numbers up. Richie Ashburn, number 1. Robin Roberts, number 36. You should see Rich.
There's a line drive to center field. Center field, I'm all right. Pressure's getting to me. Right field, 2 down.
But there's another number that is retired that will not be worn by anybody else. There you see Richie Ashburn, number 1, and 36, Robin Roberts, and Steve Carlton, number 32. Because he hasn't retired, his number has not been retired yet. He's still wearing it. But once he retires and they can have the formal ceremony here, they will retire Steve's number.
He's still wearing it in Minnesota. He's not wearing the Philly uniform in Minnesota.
No, that would be unpopular.
Tim Tuffle, the batter, he's 0 for 2, and he takes a strike. Oh, yeah, there's a number that's going to go. That'll be retired.
Got that right.
Greatest all-around third baseman of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Tuffle takes a strike, 0-2. Talking about Mike Schmidt. 500th home run April 18th in Pittsburgh.
It's Don Robinson, who's now with San Francisco.
Swung on and missed by Tim Tuffle, and that'll do it for the Mets here in the 5th. 3 up, 3 down. After 4.5, it's a close one. Mets leading the 5th. Of course, big series in St. Louis. 4-game series starting with a doubleheader tomorrow night between the Cards and the Expos as Aguayo takes a strike from John Candelaria. Strike 2.
If the Cardinals win 2 of those games, they will clinch a tie against the Expos, but not necessarily against the Mets, unless the Mets lose 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. Mets realistically hoping for a chance to sweep the Cardinals to win it this weekend. I mean, that's the realistic thought. With the Expos being out of it, it's going to be tough.
Ground ball is short. 1 out.
But very, very strange things happened the last week of the season. The Mets sweep the Phillies and the Cardinals split. And that means the Mets will gain 2 games on the Cardinals, right?
Yes.
Or a game and a half.
Think there'll be some excitement going into St. Louis?
That would eliminate, that would be a game. So they'd gain a game and a half.
That's right. They play 3 here.
Yeah, right. So they'd go into St. Louis 1 game back. If they won 2 out of 3, it'd be a tie, and the Cardinals would come to Shea on Monday. All sorts of scenarios.
Foul ball off of Gary Carter. Kevin Gross, the batter. It's 0-2 on the Philly pitcher.
And we understand that will be a 3 o'clock game on Monday, and I believe it's nationally televised on NBC.
Oh, I'm sure. No doubt about it. Down low, 1-2.
If, on the other hand, the Expos sweep the Cardinals and the Mets sweep the Phillies, going into St. Louis will be an even more interesting situation.
Right back up the middle. Santana just missing that ball. Tough play for Santana, and Gross is on first with a single.
Oh, Kevin, not an out man up there. That's his 12th hit of the season. He has a couple of extra base hits. And he's on first with 1 out.
So Kevin Gross on first base, and the batter now will be Juan Samuel.
If the Expos sweep and the Mets sweep, then the Expos and Mets will be tied for first place, and the Cardinals a game out with the Mets going in this weekend.
So all kinds of things could happen. Stay with us. How about Juan Samuel, a leadoff batter with 98 RBIs? When was the last leadoff hitter? Who was the last leadoff hitter who drove in 100? Would that be maybe Bobby Bonds?
Philippe Alou, maybe? Philippe Alou with 32 home runs back in the late 60s for the Atlanta Braves.
I would say Bobby had it. He must have been up there.
Yeah.
Of course, Bobby occasionally would move from the first to the third slot. There's a shot. Tuffle makes the play, goes to second for the force. 2 down.
Oh, nice play by Timmy. When a second baseman is cheating as much as Tuffle had to for Samuel, there's just no shot at getting 2 on the play, so they do get the lead runner. Good play. We mentioned the Expos. The Expos play the Chicago Cubs in Montreal the last 3 games of the season. So the Cubbies, who beat the Cardinals 2 out of 3 over the weekend, could indeed help the Mets again next weekend when they play the Expos.
If they did enough damage to the Mets, they might as well help them. Ron Hayes, the batter now. He's 0 for 2. He flied to the left and struck out. Mike Schmidt will follow Von Hayes. Candelaria checking Sam well. Candelaria gets the ball to the catcher as fast as anybody. That's unusual for a guy as big as John Candelaria. Good breaking ball for a strike. 0-2.
Well, you want to get Hayes out for two reasons in this at bat. Boy, that's a good swervo right there. Man. You want to get him out to end the inning, and you also want to make Schmidt hit with nobody on base.
Well, they did. Another good breaking ball from John Candelaria. Von Hayes goes down, and that'll do it, obviously, for the Phillies here in the bottom of the fifth. They fail to score. After 5, it's still Mets 1, Phillies nothing. It's here in the top of the 6th inning. How about this guy? He can do it.
More moves than a Swiss watch.
He is an interesting mascot.
Interesting thing about that, the singer, of course, Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson, a right-handed pitcher with the Phillies.
And Keith Hernandez takes down low from Kevin Gross, ball 1. 1-0 on Hernandez. Hernandez batting .293. 17 home runs this season, 83 RBIs, and still picking it at first. He takes a strike, doesn't like the call. 1-1. Harry Wendelstedt looking over at the Met dugout. I'm sure they're more vocal about the call than Keith. Keith rarely gets on the umpire about a call on it.
Well, especially in that spot, because that spot's up and away, and that's where you can pitch almost any left-handed hitter, up and away, and get them out. It's a very vulnerable spot for lefties, and Keith probably thinking, if you're going to give Gross that pitch, you're giving him a pitch in my weakness. Hitters don't like that. You don't mind giving him a pitch down and in, because he's going to bury that ball anyway.
Although Keith is one of the better left-handed hitters at getting on top of that pitch outside.
Yeah, but still, I mean, he can approach it. That's his weakest spot. Well, I guess up and in is his weakest spot, and then up and away.
He just took a curveball for a strike. 1-2. One ball and 2 strikes on Keith Hernandez. Good breaking ball down and in. Boy, that was a good hard curveball.
Yacker City, wasn't it?
1 down.
Keith has struck out more this year than he has in his career. And for Keith Hernandez, that's his 102nd strikeout on the year.
And the batter now, Darryl Strawberry. He flied to center and walked. Inside.
Dick Allen used to say, big deal, strikeouts and out if you're going to make an out. But I don't buy that line of thinking.
No?
No. Do you?
No,
an out's an out.
At one time, it was embarrassing to strike out. In fact, guys would choke up in a bat and just try to put the ball in play with 2 strikes.
Well, as a matter of fact, and we brought it up earlier, the fact that Carter didn't strike out with McReynolds at second base was the reason that the Mets are on top 1-0. So with guys on base, you can do a lot of things with the types of outs you make.
Outside to Strawberry. I guess from a team standpoint, they want you to put the ball in play. From a personal standpoint, I guess you can do anything you want. And like Richie Allen said, an out's an out.
Well,
doesn't help you win.
You want to put it in play too if there are guys on base. An out's an out when nobody's on base. With guys on base, moving the runners could be a very, very vital part of the offense. And the leaders in the National League East are direct proof of that, the Cardinals. That's how they muster runs.
And Strawberry takes a fastball on the inside part of the plate, 3-2.
Little tailing fastball on the inside corner.
Strawberry hits a ground ball to first. Rick Shue gloves it, takes it himself. 2 down. So 2 men out, and the Met left fielder Kevin McReynolds the batter. He doubled his first time up, came around to score in the second inning. The only run in tonight's ball game so far, and he struck out in the third.
I think what this game is going to prove is that you don't need tacks in your glove to win.
That's right. Although they haven't checked the glove yet.
Oh, you're not trying to say
No,
that
no,
he'd do it again in the same season? Maybe next year.
Early. Kevin McReynolds, no pine tar in his bat, just batting gloves. Usually with the batting gloves, guys use the pine tar.
I'll tell you, in all seriousness, though, if you're going to put a tack in your glove, now would be the time to do it. There's no way an umpire would have the courage to go out and check Kevin Gross's glove again, under the reasoning that, you know,
he'd never do it.
We learned him a lesson.
And the 1-1 pitch to McReynolds popped up.
Oh, this thing.
Out of play. Just out of play. Well, Kevin Gross has pitched a fine ball game. So has John Candelaria. It's a big plus for the Mets. Kevin McReynolds has really shown he's an outstanding left fielder this year in New York. Cutting balls off down the line, keeping guys at first base, going after balls, running a long way and catching them. And he's a fine center fielder also. 1-2 pitch, breaking ball, ground ball, Mike Schmidt. One of the reasons he wins all those gold gloves. That'll do it for them.
Out of John Candelaria. And the game so far has established itself as a one-run game. And with the hitters coming up for the Phillies, namely Schmidt, Parrish, and Wilson, Davey Johnson playing this 1 inning at a time and brings in Rick Aguilera to pitch a couple of innings. And he'll see after that. Aguilera's first relief appearance of the year. He started 16 games. He's 10-3 in 105 and 2/3 innings of work. He's walked 31 and struck out 73. So Rick Aguilera in relief of John Candelaria. John worked 5 innings, giving up 4 hits and no runs. He struck out 3 and walked 1.
Lee Elia, the manager of the Phillies, pacing the dugout as Mike Schmidt steps in to face Aguilera. Tim mentioned it's Rick's first relief appearance of the year. You wonder what type of an effect it will have on Rick Aguilera.
Well, this is kind of others week as far as the Mets pitching staff is concerned. I mean, starters and relievers, it really doesn't matter. No feelings about, with the exception of Gooden possibly.
I agree with you. I'm just wondering what type of an approach a starting pitcher will have coming in relief.
Well, he's relieved before.
Fly ball. Center field. Lenny Dykstra there and makes the catch. 1 down. So an adjustment for the hitters also, going from a left-hander to a right-hander.
It's one reason you flip-flop an opposite armor at a team. Sounds like medieval times, opposite armor. Last year, for instance, Aguilera worked in 28 games, and 8 of those games were in relief. But primarily, your point's well taken, he's primarily a starting pitcher.
Here in 87.
Yeah.
Well, the shift is on for Lance Parrish, and once again, Keith Hernandez playing 2 positions at once. First and second base, and Parrish takes down low, ball 1. What a beautiful day and a beautiful evening in Philadelphia. They're expecting the same tomorrow. The Mets in pursuit of the Cardinals. And tomorrow night we'll be back to scoreboard baseball. Foul off the screen. 1-1 on Parrish. Cardinals and the Expos in a double dip tomorrow. So might have word or might have close to a final score when the game starts here in Philadelphia. The first game, the Phillies and the Mets. And of course, Wednesday night we'll be bringing you all the action right here on SportsChannel. Dwight Gooden on the mound for the Phillies. For the Mets. As Parrish takes down low. 2-1. Then a day off for the Mets Thursday, and they fly into St. Louis. Friday night they take on the Cardinals Saturday and Sunday. You can catch that Saturday game right here on Sports Channel as Parrish takes outside 3-1. There's a chopper to third. Fair ball. Hojo's got it. He throws it high. Nice stretch by Hernandez. 2 outs.
It was a good stretch and a strong throw by Johnson. This ball hits the line. And watch Keith. Makes the stretch and really comes back to touch the bag. I think he was off the bag initially. And then, like Nureyev, he came back to touch the bag. Not that Nureyev would do that.
And Nureyev doesn't have the hands. He has the feet, but not the hands.
That's correct. Well, I don't know about that now.
You think he has the hands?
Oh,
still?
yeah.
All right. There's a base hit to center field off the bat of Glenn Wilson. He's now 1 for 3. So with 2 men down, the Phillies have a runner on first.
I think a lot of balletic moves combine the hands and the feet. Rhythm. You don't snap your toes, you snap your fingers.
I bet Nureyev couldn't hit.
I wouldn't put it past him.
You think he could hit?
Well, he grew up in Russia. I mean, they don't even have baseball, even though they're talking like, right? They might have invented it by 1992.
And the batter now, Chris James, had an infield hit and walked. What a great pennant race here in '87. The Mets once again playing great baseball. Another exciting summer in New York. Inside the James, 1-1. So get your season tickets for next year, because they're going to have another good ball club next year, no matter what happens this year. Nothing like being in a pennant race all season long. For the players, it's fun to go to the ballpark, and for the fans. Down low to James, 2-1. Rick Aguilera.
Interesting thing about James. James is batting .304 against right-handers this year and .275 against left-handers. So percentage-wise, you strengthen James with the right-hander.
There's a strike. I know what Ralph thinks about the platoon system. What do you think about platooning players?
It depends on who you're platooning. Right-handers shouldn't be platooned as much as left-handers should be. But most left-handed hitters are platooned, and I think for good reason. You never see a left-handed hitter hitting a left-handed pitcher like a right-handed hitter hits a right-handed pitcher. That's why you're more apt to platoon lefties than righties.
2-2 pitch. Nice scoop by Carter.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So full count.
It's one of the reasons that's such a good play. A catcher anticipates the breaking ball in the dirt, but not the fastball. You saw how Carter had to turn his glove twice.
Chris James, full count. Runner breaks. There's a drive center field. Lenny Dykstra came in. He turned around. He makes the play. Lenny turning every which way he can. Nice play. Nice play by Lenny Dykstra to end the inning. Phil Strand, a runner.
We mentioned Nureyev. That was more like Michael Jackson right there.
And that'll do it for the Phillies. They fail to score here in the 6th. Ralph will join Tim after 6. We get a close one. Stay with us. It's Mets 1, Phillies nothing.
Right here is Len Dykstra trying to make, not only trying, but making that play, really turning the wrong way. Ralph Kiner boogies on in. That was something, wasn't it?
Talk about Nureyev.
Yeah.
He doesn't make that many moves.
Nor that many expressions. Lenny's got more expressions than Lon Chaney Jr. Here's Gary Carter to lead it off in the 7th. The Mets with a tenuous 1-run lead, 1-0. The only scoring coming in the 2nd inning as the Mets bookended doubles. McReynolds doubled, Carter made an out, and then Johnson doubled. Lenny talking to Aguilera now. Top of the 7th. 0-1 to Carter. Kevin Gross, a superb performance, bested by Candelaria through 5 and Aguilera through 1. 0-2 to Gary.
Gary now 0 for 18 after grounding out twice in this game.
Gary's average below 235 now. Curveball low. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Gary Carter.
Kevin Gross with a fine curveball. He has struck out 5 and retired his last 10 men. Last to get on base was Darryl Strawberry back in the 3rd on a walk.
Slider fouled away. Still 1-2. Carter with more home runs than any other player in the National League in this ballpark. He has 23 for his career.
Keep looking for Gary to bust out. He has the ability to do it, but he hasn't been able to put it together this year in consistent fashion.
Two to Gary Carter. 1-0 New York. Outside.
5 strikeouts by Kevin Gross in this game have all been on curveballs. Look at Howard Johnson in the on-deck circle.
Curveball got him. So Carter down on strike. Strikeout number 6 for Kevin Gross. 1 away.
Well, it's at Uncle Charlie again, and this one was a good pitch to go after. Well, when you get in those hitting slumps, you look the wrong way. You guess wrong. You look fastball, you get curve. You look curve, you get fastball. They just seem to mount up on you.
Howard Johnson, the batter. In Carter's particular case, and we've said this before, and it's not making excuses, but he did have the added disadvantage of catching and being hit more than any catcher. You can't compare slumps for a catcher with slumps for anybody else. Just impossible to do it. They're different animals, especially in lieu of the fact that Carter has been beat up like a punching bag this year.
And it has been mainly his feet and legs, and they are the basis of the swing.
Yep. 2-0 to Johnson.
You're talking about ballet dancers. Well, baseball players definitely have to have the base and balance. If you don't have the balance, you cannot do it right.
That's a good comparison, because ballet dancers, we said, use their hands, and baseball hitters certainly use their feet and the lower part of their body. You have to. Hitting against that front side. Even though boxers punch with their hands,
they drive with their legs.
They drive with their legs, right. Guess you could say that about driving a car too. You steer with your hands, but you drive with your feet. 3-1 to Johnson. 1-0 New York, top of the 7th.
The baseball swing is a two-part swing, the lower part of your body and the upper part, and they work in opposition.
When the foot goes forward, the hands go back.
That is true.
As an example.
Upper part of the body turns away from the pitcher, while the lower part opens up toward the pitcher.
Rafael Santana now. You might possibly look for the hit and run in this situation. And if Santana does first and third him, it'll be interesting to see if Aguilera hits.
Of course, Aguilera, a good hitting pitcher.
3 lifetime home runs for Aggie, 1 this year against Sean Hilligus of the Dodgers. Second walk issued by Gross, and the first base runner for the Mets since the 3rd.
Well, Johnson a threat to steal. He has 32 stolen bases and 42 attempts. According to the stat sheet, he has 33 stolen bases, so give him one more.
So Gross now very deliberate. Kevin 9 and 14 on the year, but obviously a better pitcher than that as far as his stuff is concerned. Curveball is low. 2-0.
Johnson taking a very short lead that time, which would lead you to guess, and it's really a guess, that they'll put the hit and run on.
Right side open. Shue holding Johnson close to first. Samuel cheating at second for the double play. Johnson not running, and the slider misses. 3-0 to Santana. I think a situation right here where Gross has been a little bit too careful to Santana, not challenged him enough.
And he got himself in a jam here as he goes to 3-0, and that means that he'll have to come into Santana. Santana will be taking here.
And he takes ball 4. So the Mets have runners at first and second, 1 out, and now what do you do with Aguilera? Do you bunt or do you let him hit? And we'll see as Sam Palazzo, the third base coach, comes up and wants to talk.
If you recall a few...
Aguilera in the bottom of the 6th, retired the Phillies without allowing them to score, and he's batting here in the 7th. And he's bunting. And it's a good one. Gross will let it roll foul. Boy.
Kind of a gamble there, but he really didn't have a play on Aguilera. Of course, this surface is flat. It's supposed to be flat.
Bunting again. Outside, 1-1 to Aguilera. To the right, but he will be cheating toward first base. There's Juan. And Shue will be charging. And he's bunting again, and it almost hit Aguilera. 2-1. Bunting again. Strike on the corner. 2-2 to Aguilera. Two balls, 2 strikes to Rick Aguilera. 1 out. Bunting again. And he strikes out in an attempt to bunt as he fouls it back. So the runners, of course, remain at first and second, and now with 2 outs, the batter Len Dyke. Change up on the corner. 0-1 to Dykstra. That's something you don't want to get into a habit doing. That is showing an umpire up, and I'll guarantee you they're going to have the last word. You start peeking at that outside corner like the modern players do, and I'll guarantee you the guys in blue are going to end that battle and win it.
It's one you can't win.
No, sir. Jam with a fastball. He fights it off. 0-2.
Mets with their first scoring opportunity since the 3rd inning.
Lee Elia obviously happy with an extension on his contract. Davey Johnson, on the other hand, has embittered the Mets management with bringing it up over the weekend.
Davey has a contract for next year,
but not for 89, and evidently word of that leaked out, and big news in New York. Davey had a meeting yesterday to straighten everything out. Dykstra can't straighten out the curveball. So an unusual inning for Gross. He strikes out 3 and walks 2. It's 1-0 New York after 6.5. Now let's go to Lee Zeidman. Thompson having a fine year.
batting .302 for the year, and he's had 4 for 14 as a pinch hitter. Gets a lot of infield base hits. He has great speed.
Breaking ball for a strike. 1-0 New York over the Phillies. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Rick Aguilera in relief of John Candelaria. So the Mets really relieving a Lara for a Laria. Sounds like Italian money denominations. 1-1 to Milt Thompson.
There's a lot of money at stake in this ball game for the Mets.
In any denomination. Line to right, base hit Thompson. That looked like a changeup or a split finger fastball. Thompson right on it. And the batter Luis Aguayo. He's up there to bunt.
And Thompson right here taking that pitch on the line to right field. And he has great speed. He is always a threat to steal. He represents a time run at first. He's had 42 stolen bases in 52 attempts.
You assume Aguayo's up there to bunt. He's bunted 1 time successfully as a sacrifice this year. So a lot of ways Lee Elia can go here. You can send Thompson, or you can use the straight sacrifice. Second time in the ball game that the Phillies have had their leadoff batter on. The other time, Juan Samuel, a double in the first. He did not score, however. Aguayo takes ball 1. Really unusual in a game like this. Usually you'd be able to cut the tension with a knife, but not necessarily tonight for some reason. Be my imagination. I don't know. Another bunt, and it's a good one. Carter will have to hurry now. It's Aguilera who makes the play to Tuffle, covering. Almost hesitated too long.
Well, there definitely was a moment of indecision right here. They were waiting for Carter to take the play, but Carter didn't come out. And now a little mix-up, and Aguilera makes it. And he gets it off to first base in time as Tuffle takes it. Johnson coming up from third. It was a very good bunt in a good spot where
really was
made everybody stand around and look.
And after the hesitation, Aggie certainly made a terrific play on the ball, barehanding it, and then throwing out Aguayo at first. So Kevin Gross is not going to bat, but Greg Gross is.
Gross is 4th in the all-time list in pinch hits with 122. He is an outstanding pinch hitter, and he is an opposite field hitter.
With no power, so the Mets would want to swing him around to left field. He had his first home run this year since 1979, if you can believe it. That's how little power he has. Strike 1, 0-1.
14 for 51 as a pinch hitter.
Randy Myers, Roger McDowell warming for the Mets. Oh, 0-1 to Gross. Ground ball, shortstop. Santana to Hernandez. 2 outs. So that'll bring up Juan Samuel. And you don't want to give in to this guy, even though he is the go-ahead run, because you do have Myers warming up to pitch to Hayes.
This guy has been the MVP of the ball club. He has had some sort of year, hitting .273. He has 28 home runs, 98 runs batted in, 35 stolen bases. He's had 34 doubles and 15 triples.
Ground ball, shortstop. Santana to Hernandez. The Mets are out of it. No runs, a hit, 1 left. After 7, it's 1-0. We got a squeaker, baby.
This is his 39th ball game. He's worked a total of 37 2/3 innings, given up 20 hits while walking a total of 24 and striking out 86. Make that 26.
The Mets will be sending Tim Teufel, Keith Hernandez, and Darryl Strawberry to face Jeff Calhoun, who has the distinction of being the last pitcher to pitch for the Houston Astros in 1986. That was in Game 6 of the National League Championship Series. He gave up 1 run, but he actually walked 2 in that inning. So one of those walks led to a run, and the Mets won that game by 1. So Jeff Ennis and Gene Walter now getting their throwing in. This one ripped deep to left, and it's off the top of the fence. Teufel will have to hurry to get back to first. That's how hard the ball was hit. How many singles just missed going out of the ballpark?
Well, this ball is ripped. The fastball down. Teufel hits it as hard as you can. Played perfectly off the wall by James. It misses being a home run by about a half a foot.
Wow.
Perfect throw to second. Teufel would have been out if he had gone on, but he held up at first.
Boy, that was a terrific play by left fielder Chris James to hold Teufel to a single. That was about what it was, about a half a foot. Keith Hernandez now the batter. Keith 0 for 3. So you can look for Teufel to be running in a possible hit and run situation. The Mets lead it 1-0, and they almost know that's not going to be enough. At least right now they're thinking that way.
They got to get some.
Lined foul. 0-1. Kevin Gross went 7 innings, striking out 8 and giving up only 4 hits and none after the 3rd inning. And here to show you the kind of year Kevin's having, he can only lose this game.
The 8 strikeouts is high for the year. His career high 10.
Oh, and 1 to Hernandez. Nobody out. Teufel at first, held by Hayes. Grounder toward first. Hayes will step on first. And even though you didn't intend to do it, you sacrifice with Hernandez on the swing, even though he's not credited with that, of course.
And Calhoun gets in tight on Keith, and he dribbles it down to first. It's a matter of whether it's going to stay fair or foul. They took the out by taking the ball in fair territory. Von Hayes has no chance for a play at second as Teufel moves in the scoring position.
And Darryl Strawberry the batter. And this will probably be the last hitter Calhoun will face. Kent Tekulve's now warming in the Philly bullpen, and he'll be in to pitch to McReynolds in all probability. Slider misses. 1-0 to Strawberry, who's 0 for 2 with a walk on the evening. There's Teak. Inside, ball 2.
Well, the Phillies have been pitching Strawberry so carefully. He has not had anything good to hit in spite of the fact that he's 0 for 2.
Every time up, he's had a 3-ball count on him. Had a good pitch to hit then. That was a slider over the heart of the plate, but he missed it. 2-1.
Darryl, a big swing here. He had a good swing at that one, but no contact.
Swing and a miss at the fastball, so it's 2-1 to Strawberry. Got him with a backup slider, it appeared. Strawberry called out on strikes, and that's going to be all for Jeff Calhoun.
Well, The strike zone for Harry Windelstadt, the umpire, has been a wide one here tonight, and he calls that a strike. It looked like it was on the inside corner.
It did. Yep, that ball's a strike. But, you know, that's the thing about that backup breaking ball. You give up on it. And the Mets not figuring that Teufel's going to be stranded on the bases, but I think it's worthy of seeing that.
6-4 this year. He's had 3 saves. He has an earned run average of 3.18. This is his 102nd innings pitched, 102 innings pitched. He has given up 95 hits, allowed 8 home runs, and he is a veteran pitcher of great renown.
Well, let me ask you this. We mentioned Gary Carter struggling 0 for 19. Why pitch to McReynolds in this situation?
First base is open.
Place to put him. Gary Carter 0 for 19. He's batting 43 points less than McReynolds. Fastball on the corner. 0-1. You certainly couldn't criticize the move if they walked McReynolds.
Not at all.
1-0 New York. 2 outs. Teufel at second. We're in the 8th. He gets under it and lifts it to left center field. Chris James called off now by Milt Thompson. So I think Tekulve really got a 8th inning with the Mets on top 1-0. Hernandez properly on the line at first base. Hayes more inclined to pull Rick Aguilera. Curveball is low, 1-0. Hayes 0 for 3 on the night. But that's because he was facing John Candelaria, who struck him out 2 times. Outside, 2-0. Hayes, the first left-handed hitter the Phillies have had since Richie Ashburn, who has walked 100 times. He has walked 120 times this year. Gets under it and lifts it to right field. He just missed it. Strawberry, 1 out.
Toronto 2 in the 8th inning. Baltimore 3, Detroit nothing in the 8th. Minnesota 3, Texas 3 in the 4th. Seattle 2, Kansas City nothing in the 4th.
Minnesota needs 1 win or Kansas City a loss, and they're trailing 2-0 for them to clinch the American League West. The Giants need for the Reds to lose or for them to win tonight to clinch the National League West. But the 2 Eastern divisions, I guess you would say compared to the West, are up for grabs. 1-0 to Schmidt. He's 0 for 3. Outside, 2-0.
Magic number for both the Mets and Montreal, 5, and also the magic number 5 for Detroit against Toronto. Toronto and Detroit both losing, with Toronto leading by 2.5 games.
Low, ball 3.
Well, Schmidt hits 3-0, so you got to really be careful here. He'll be turned loose on this spot.
Lance Parrish on deck.
Schmidt with 45 home runs against the Mets in his career, hitting .254.
Outside, ball 4. Now that's the first walk issued by Aguilera, but it's going to bring up the potential go-ahead run in the person of Lance Parrish, who has all types of power.
This is the ball 4 pitch, as Hojo's being attacked by some kind of an insect there.
But it's artificial. This is artificial turf.
That's the old infield fly right there getting to it.
Almost looked like a bat.
Boy.
So Parrish, the batter, he is 1 for 3 on the night. 1 out, Schmidt at first. Grounder tapped towards short. Santana will have to go to first to get the sure out, with Schmidt moving to second on the play.
That puts a tying run at second base with 2 men out. As we look at it again, it's just a little bouncer here. Santana can't make the play at second. He takes the one at first and just does get Larry Parrish with his time throw. So Schmidt at second with 2 men away.
Now the only batter that has hit a home run off Aguilera this year is hitting Glenn Wilson.
Only batter in this ballpark.
For the Phillies.
Yeah, right.
Right. August 9th. Make that September 9th. Only batters in this ballpark are the only ones that count.
That's right. But he has given up some home run pitches. He's given up 12 home runs.
But Wilson, the only batter on the Phillies that has hit a home run against Rick. It's 1-0 to Glenn Wilson. Two out, Schmidt at second, 1-0 New York, bottom of the 8th inning. Ripped fouls, 1-1 to Wilson.
Wilson has hit very well against the Mets. .354 with 3 home runs and 6 runs batted in. He has been a hot batter. He's had 8 hits in his last 15 at bats.
1 for 3 tonight. Aguilera stepping off. Wilson with power to all fields, 14 home runs on the year. 1-0 New York, bottom of the 8th inning. Slider low and away. 2-1. The on deck batter, Chris James. Here's Chris. Good play, Carter. 3 balls and a strike to Wilson.
Really pitching Wilson tough, trying to make him go after bad pitches out of the strike zone, but that was just too far away. Now the count in favor of Wilson at 3 balls and 1 strike.
A check swing on the slider, 3-2.
Another very tough pitch.
The Mets trying to make their second inning run hold up, as you see Randy Myers and Roger McDowell, who are both loose in the bullpen.
You have a right-hand batter in the on-deck circle.
Mike Schmidt at second, 2 outs. Fastball just missed. So the second walk of the inning, given up by Aguilera, will bring Chris James to the plate. James, an infield hit in the second. He walked and hit a bullet to center field. Back in the 6th inning. It turned Dykstra around, but Lenny made the catch to end the inning. So James appeared to have a bead on Aguilera. We'll see. Two on, 2 out, 1-0 New York. Swing and a miss at a slider, 0-1.
James really fooled by this pitch. It's way out of the strike zone.
The maturation process speeded up by the Phillies, allowing James to hit in this situation. He's a fine young prospect, and if you don't let him hit in these situations, they'll never learn to relax in these situations. Ergo, no pinch hitter. 0-1 to James. Slider lifted to right center and playable. Strawberry over. And Aguilera pitches out of it again. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 2 left. The Mets leading 1-0 after 8. John Candelaria starting for New York. He went 5 innings, giving up no runs and striking out 3. Rick Aguilera in relief. He has pitched 3 strong innings, even though the Phillies have had runners on in every inning. Fastball to Gary is a strike. Gary 0 for 3 on the night.
Gary with a home run off to Colby back on April 15th.
Tim Teufel opened the 8th, just missing a home run. Slider hit deep to center, but there's Milt Thompson. 1 away. Howard Johnson now the batter. The Phillies, along with the Mets and the Cardinals, have been shut out only 4 times this year. And John Mitchell now warming for New York. But he's not going to be in this game unless he goes to extra innings. Just throwing. This one foul back right below us. Johnson responsible for the only run in this game. He scored Kevin McReynolds back in the 2nd inning with double number 20 on the year.
RBI number 98 for him.
See if Aguilera opens the 9th inning against the Phillies. Milt Thompson, in his only at bat against Rick, singled to open the 7th. So we'll see if Davy Johnson sticks with Rick as you take a look at Milt Thompson, the center fielder. 1-1 to Johnson. Low, ball 2. Tim McCarver along with Ralph Kiner and Fran Healy. Hope you've enjoyed the telecast this evening. As you see Rafael Santana on deck. Good ball game. Outside, ball 3. 3-1.
Back on July 11th, Colby broke Sparky Lyle's major league record for games all pitched in relief. This man has been around a long time.
Matter of fact, 2 of Lyle's records have fallen to 2 different Philly relievers this year. Steve Bedrosian with consecutive saves broke Lyle's record. That Sparky set back in 1973. The slider to Johnson, a strike, 3-2. Slider fouled away into the dugout of the Phillies. Our low first cameraman ducking. Cardinals, the Expos, off tonight. They play a doubleheader in St. Louis tomorrow night. Then 2 single games, Wednesday and Thursday, and then the Mets come into town. Grounder toward first. Hayes there, and he takes it himself. 2 outs. So the batter, Rafael Santana. And unless the Mets can muster a 2-out rally, they will try to shut out the Phillies to win this game in regulation time. 1-0. Santana 0 for 2 with a walk. And a bunt attempt. I have no idea why he would do that in that situation. 2 out, nobody on with the pitcher coming up. It's the 9th inning. Sam Palazzo had nothing to do with it.
He's wondering the same thing. Santana, of course, has had more home runs this year than he's ever had. He's never had more than one in the season. Comes into this game with 5.
Point is, you know, if he does get a double, you may elect to pinch hit for Aguilera and bring McDowell in the ball game. Ground ball towards short. Aguayo throws out Santana. The Mets again go in order. That's the 4th time in this game they've gone in order, but they lead 1-0 middle of the 9th, and it's up to that man in your screen right there to hold them. Missed. Milt Thompson, the batter. It's 1-0 New York. Here in the bottom of the 9th inning, Thompson in his only at bat, pinch hitting for Rick Shue, single to right, and was stranded after the sacrifice in the 7th. Aguilera in relief of John Candelaria. Curveball strike, 0-1. Thompson, some power, 7 home runs. Strike 2. 0-2 to Thompson.
Well, this pitch borderline and called a strike by Harry Wendelstedt. And a good call for Rick Aguilera.
Indeed it was. Aggie, if you're wondering how many saves he has in his career, try none. Good play by Carter. And you might say, there's nobody on. What do you mean good play? Well, if Thompson swings at it and it gets by Gary, it would have been a wild pitch strikeout. And he offered. Almost hit him. 2-2.
Thompson hitting .320 as a right-hand, off right-hand pitching. And this ball almost hits him right here as he gets out of the way of the fastball.
2-2 to Milt Thompson. Lined up the middle base hit. Dykstra will have to hurry, and he does, to hold Thompson to a single. So the batter, Luis Aguayo, who sacrificed successfully in the 7th.
Well, Thompson ranks 7th in the National League in batting, and this is one of the reasons why. A fastball and his 2nd hit since coming in the ball game. That puts the time run at first with no one out. And it brings up Luis Aguayo.
I have a question for you, Mr. Kiner. Why would Kent Tekulve even be out on deck right now?
I have no idea.
You're going to pinch hit for him anyway. Why not give your pinch hitter a chance to get up and look at the live pitching?
You can learn an awful lot from that on-deck circle.
Yes, sir. The bunt, and it's a curveball low.
Aguayo sacrificed in the 7th to move Thompson down to 2nd.
1-0 New York. We're in the 9th inning, nobody out. Milt Thompson with 42 stolen bases at first. And another good bunt. Aguilera will have to go to first. So there's one out with Thompson at 2nd. So now the obvious pinch hitter, as Tekulve goes back, and it's going to be young Keith Hughes. So Keith Hughes is now the pinch hitter, and you wonder if we'll see Randy Myers here. Davey Johnson wondering if Hughes has been announced, pacing like a Siberian tiger, and here he comes with the hook.
Keith Hughes was acquired from the Yankees June 10th. His first major league hit was on June 29th, a 2-run pinch double.
He won't have a chance to match that feat. He won't be hitting here.
No, he won't.
So Aguilera working 3 1/3. He gave up no runs. He gave up 3 hits, 2 of them to Milt Thompson. He walked 2 and struck out no one. So a fine job by Rick Aguilera. And in bullpen, I wonder if Davy Johnson, should Myers get Renicky, who's going to be the pinch hitter, I wonder if they'd walk Samuel to pitch to Hayes and let Myers do it, or bring in McDowell to pitch to Samuel. You don't often walk the winning run or the potential winning run on base, but it is an interesting decision.
At one time it was never done. Now they do it much more often.
Well, Ron Renicky, you talk about a difference in his right and left-handed hitting. Unbelievable difference.
171 as a total offense. He's hitting 050 left-handed, 306 from the right-hand side.
Unbelievable. Only 2 for 40 as a right-handed hitter, but batting 306. Or as against right-handed pitching, 306 as a right-handed hitter. First pitch is strike. Samuel on deck. 1-0. 1-2-0. New York. Inside. Now the one thing you have to look out for is Thompson at second base. He has 42 stolen bases. He held up, so it's 2 balls and a strike to Ron Renicky. Stomachs are churning here at the Vet. Swing and a miss. 2-2 to Renicky.
And this fastball right on through. Pitch down in a good spot as Myers goes to about a 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Nothing fancy, huh? Strike 3 call on the inside corner. 2 outs.
Strikeout 89 for Randy Myers as he pumps a fastball through on the inside corner. Good pitch. And now the Mets are not away from winning this game. We'll see how they handle this situation. The toughest hitter for the Phillies is at bat Juan Samuel.
You have a flamethrower on the mound and you have a fire extinguisher at the plate. This guy can turn around any fastball in the big leagues. And let's go Mets is the resounding theme here at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. 1 on, 2 outs, 1-0 New York. Samuel 1 for 4. Line drive, right center, playable. Strawberry. Mets win it 1-0. We have seen Davy Johnson display courage before, but I think, in my opinion, that he's displayed as much courage in this game, leaving Randy Myers in to pitch to a fastball hitter like Samuel instead of taking the easy way out and bringing McDowell in the ballgame.
Well, Davey really does have that quality, courage, and conviction. He made a big move earlier in the ballgame when he took Candelaria out with a 1-0 lead after he had worked 5 innings, brought in Rick Aguilera, who worked 3 1/3, and then took Aguilera out and brought in Randy Myers, the young rookie. And Randy retired 2 in a row, 1 in a strikeout, a big strikeout with a runner at second, and then getting Juan Samuel in the fly ball to right field, and the Mets keep their magic number at 5.
Brother, what a ball game. The totals on the game, you're not going to believe it. 1-5-0 for New York. 0-7-0 for the Philadelphia Phillies. John Candelaria now 2-0, and Kevin Gross, the loser, now 9-15. And Ralph and I will be back with a further wrap after this. 1-0 Met win. And Ralph, I think you hit it right on the head, the biggest ball game of his life for Randy Myers.
No doubt about it. He came in and picked up that save, and it was a big save for the Mets because the Philadelphia Phillies had runners on base in every inning, and it looked like they were going to break through in the ball game, and then Randy coming in and doing the job, striking out Renicky and getting the very, very tough Samuel on that fly ball to right.
Only the 5th time this year the Phillies have been shut out. And to tell us how they did it, let's go down to Fran Healy on the field. Francis?
Okay, Tim, and behind every good pitching effort, there's an outstanding catcher, my guest, Gary Carter. And Gary, is it more rewarding to catch 3 guys and a shutout, or just 1 guy and a shutout? 1 guy, the pitcher takes the credit. You can take it on this one.
Well, there's a little bit more to it because you're catching with a couple of different guys, but it's very rewarding either way. But the fact that Aguilera came in to pick up Candy and go as long as he did, and then Randy Myers to come in and get the last 2 outs and get the save, I was just very proud of these guys. And maybe I didn't get any hits tonight, but I put the right fingers down.
Well, what about the ball you hit early in the ball game?
Well, I thought that was fair, Fran. I could have sworn that ball was that nicked the line. Terry Tate, I can't believe he didn't see that, because that was right on it. And I don't know how it appeared on television or where they saw, but it looked like it nicked the outside corner of the line. And I guess it's been that way all year, Fran, so I guess there's no reason to change now, although we've got 5 games remaining, and the most important thing is that we win. It doesn't matter what all these kind of contributions have meant, other than just the fact that if we win this whole thing, then everybody's made their contribution. And so, you know, I've battled all year. You know, we've all gone through some adversity. I've fought through some injuries and things like that, and it hasn't been the kind of year that I always set plateaus and certainly standards for myself. But, you know, for the most part, I still feel like I'm swinging the bat good. I just am not having that much luck right now.
Gary, it was a perfect ball game as far as the Mets were concerned tonight, a 1-0 shutout. I mean, can this go on the rest of the week?
Well, I'll tell you, Fran, it's just been nail-biting time this whole time. And we know how important this series is here. It was very, very important. I don't know how many people can realize how big of a game this really was tonight. And we needed that because now we're just 2 games out, and now that puts a little bit more pressure on that Cardinal Expo series. So, Fran, I tell you, it's going to go down to the wire, I really believe, and we just got to take each game as they go. We're not concerned about saying, well, we got to win the next 2 ball games here and all. We just have to keep playing quality baseball. Great pitching performance tonight, and just two key hits, and Kevin McReynolds and Howard Johnson, and that's what did it.
My guest is Gary Carter, and talking about key pitching performances tomorrow night, David Cone on the mound against Don Carmen, Game 2 of this 3-game series. Now let's go back upstairs to Tim and Ralph.
All right, Fran, thank you very much. Ralph, an interesting thing, as the lineups were being introduced tonight, the Philly lineup was booed. There were so many Mets fans here, and I don't think I've ever heard that at a visiting ballpark, but obviously the Mets fans, I think, had something to do with tonight's victory. It might be stretching it a bit, but I don't think so.
Well, I think it certainly helped because they really were behind the Mets, and let's go Mets cheering in the background, so the fans always do help, and it's unusual when it happens on the road. Mets got their only run in the ball game on doubles by McReynolds and also by Howard Johnson, and that was the ball game. Mets had 1 break, I thought, that could have been the difference in the ball game. Tuffle's ball that didn't go out of the park, hit the top of the fence, and was only a single, and then they couldn't cash in.
So the 1 run the Mets scored in the 2nd inning held up Howard Johnson, his 16th game-winning RBI of the year. But more importantly, the Mets win 1-0, and we can't think of too many more 1-0 ball games that they've won. By the way, the Texaco star of the game, John Candelaria, who wins his 2nd ball game in 3 tries tonight. And once again, the final score, and was it ever a thriller? 1-0 New York. Remember, fans, tomorrow at 7:30, the Yankees host Wade Boggs and the Boston Red Sox. And on Wednesday, the Mets take on the same Philadelphia Phillies right here on SportsChannel, so make your plans now. Up next, it's Lee Zeidman with the latest on the New York sports scene on New York Sports Nightly. For Ralph Kiner and Fran Healy, this is Tim McCarver saying so long until Wednesday, and thanks for watching Mets baseball on SportsChannel, the official channel of the New York fan.
World champion New York Mets baseball has been brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By your New York, New Jersey Buick dealers, the goodbye people. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By today's TWA. Find out how good we really are. By Texaco, super unleaded gasoline with Petrox detergent to help keep your car's power flowing. By Toyota and the all-new line of 1987 cars and trucks. Who could ask for anything more? And by the American Express card.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to New York Sports Nightly. I'm Lee Zeidman. We've got lots to talk about tonight. We'll start here in town. Yankees opened a series with Boston in the Bronx, both clubs out of the race, but playing another chapter in what's been an ancient rivalry. The Red Sox dug a big hole early and stuck the Yanks in it. They start. Mike Greenwell sends one deep to center, top of the first. Ricky Henderson's head, it goes over to the wall. Ellisburg scores, so does Dwight Evans. Greenwell gets the stand-up double, and it's 2-0. Later in the inning, Jody Reed smacks a bases-loaded shot up the alley in right center. Greenwell scores. Benzinger scores. So does Romero. Reed winds up with a triple, and it's 5-0. Bill Gullickson in trouble early. Yanks did manage to play defense tonight. Greenwell hits a ball in foul territory. Watch Pags make the backhand catch just before going to the tarp. Top of the fourth, 6-0 Red Sox when Sam Horn just ropes this pitch deep, and I mean deep to right center. The ball over the 450 mark. A solo shot that made it 7-0. The Yanks rallying somewhat, trail 7-3 in the top of the ninth. Gullickson left after the fourth. Henderson came up with his 17th dinger of the season. The Yanks, of course, just spectators in the American League East race. It's a two-team stretch run with Toronto leading Detroit by a neck. The Blue Jays tripping up tonight with those Milwaukee Brewers. Top the third. This is now a final, 6-4. Milwaukee knocks off the Blue Jays. Brewers score 4 in the fifth to take the lead and then hold on for victory. Meanwhile, second place Detroit had trouble with Baltimore. Cal Ripken's Orioles are 31.5 games out, but still trying to play a part in this race. The story went like this. Top of the third, no score. Pete Stanisak hits one up the middle, just out of the reach of Lou Whitaker. Jim Dwyer comes round to score, and the Orioles take an early 1-0 lead. The Birds pick up another run in the third, lead 2-0. Then Eddie Murphy rips a single to right. Stanisak scores easily as Baltimore leads 3-0, and that was the final. Habian gets the win. Tom Niedenfuer gets the save, number 12. And look who took the loss, Jack Morris. Elsewhere, well, take a look at the standings now. 2.5 games back, Detroit is of Toronto. The magic number for the Blue Jays is 4. Continuing with the rest of the scores, Minnesota and Texas are tied at 3 in the 6th. Twins need a victory or a Kansas City loss to clinch their first West Division title since 1970. Speaking of Kansas City, they are trailing Seattle 3-1 in the top of the 7th. Saw the Mets here on SportsChannel tonight, the front end of our double play, only their second 1-0 victory of 1987. Candelaria